Yes. How are you? Happy Monday. Happy Facebook Live. Who I have here on the couch. We're so excited. We are so excited. So if you don't know who she is already, let me give you the introduction. So what I have here is she has served our country in the Army.
This is true.
She is apparently in real estate sales and consulting. And, oh yeah, she just so happened to be the treasurer of Franklin County. This is Cheryl Brooks.
Hey, everybody.
So, we are extremely honored because we love her as a human being, not just all the other fancy things that she does. So we handpick all the people that we have come on our Facebook Live. But we are really excited about Cheryl Brooks. And I want to talk to her about a little thing, some things you guys didn't even know. So we're going to start by, you apparently are not born here in Columbus, Ohio, nor in the United States, from what I heard, little birdie told me. Is that correct?
I'll tell you the story to show you why that... Okay, so my parents met in England. My mother's Jamaican. My father was stationed in an Air Force base in England. Mom was going to nursing school. They met on the top of a double-decker bus. They exchanged contact information. He went back to the airman and told the airman he had just met the woman he was going to marry and spend the rest of his life with. She went back to the nurses and told the nurses she had just met the person she was going to... They hadn't told each other this. And they would have been married 65 years this year, but Dad passed away in 2010. So they did begin dating. They got married when they were... There were 3 children before me, 2 after me. My sister was supposed to have been a twin. Only 2 of us survived.
Got it.
So by the time I was born, I was the 4th pregnancy. They had tons of anticipation and hope. There was an opportunity for Dad to come back stateside. The Tuskegee Airmen.
Did you say Tuskegee Airmen?
Tuskegee Airmen.
Oh my goodness.
And this is when and how my dad became a part of the Tuskegee experience. He was a part of the group they put together to help them assimilate into a new assignment, a new military assignment, because as Tuskegee Airmen, without there being an actual conflict going on, they all needed new job titles, new job locations. The only military base where African Americans could live, they call it Rickenbacker now, but it was called Lockbourne Air Force Base.
Wow.
So Mom and Dad were 6 months pregnant with me. And we came over on the Queen Elizabeth, and we came to Columbus, Ohio. Well, I was born while they were here.
Wow.
When I was 9 months old, we returned to England.
Okay.
And I spent the next 6 years in England.
My goodness. Now, did you pick up an accent from over there?
I have a Cockney accent. It's
Oh,
I'll get in and out of it if I want to.
oh my goodness. Wow.
I'm telling you.
Right. How interesting.
So when I was about 12 or 13 years old, I would go in my bedroom and I would practice sounding American.
Really?
My mother was my primary caregiver, and she speaks still to this day with a very deep Jamaican accent.
Wow.
So between being raised in England and being taught to speak in England and by a mother who had a Jamaican accent, when we first came stateside, we went to northern Florida. I forget the name of the base. But anyway, nobody could understand me and I couldn't understand them. I would go to school and the teacher decided to call my mother one day to tell my mother she was having a hard time understanding me because of the British accent. And then she gets a Jamaican accent on the end of the phone.
Right.
So that didn't go real well either. But yeah, I had a Jamaican accent until about the age, an English accent until about the age of 12. And I would sit in my room and I would practice sounding American.
Isn't that interesting? That's how important it was to you.
It was a challenge.
It was a challenge.
I wanted to assimilate since we were spending the rest of our lives in this country.
Sure.
And when they say, do you have any regrets? One of them is that I gave up my natural accent.
Interesting. That is interesting.
Uptown Julie Brown became really popular when I was
That's
younger.
true. Right.
And I see this person that everybody loves because of her English accent somewhat. And I was like, I have that. And I gave it up.
Interesting. Wow. So what did you go to school? You went to school here then, I assume.
All over, yes. Went to school in Michigan, Florida, and here. but we would summer in New York. My father's from New York, so we'd go to New York or back to Jamaica. I have, and this is kind of an interesting fact that a lot of people don't know, there are 9 of us, 9 bloodline here in Ohio. In the entire country, there may be 24 of us.
My goodness.
My father's side of the family, he had 2 brothers.
Okay. So these are Brooks.
The Brooks side is almost gone. I have 1 cousin left on the Brooks side.
Wow.
My dad's father died, of course. His mother died when he was very young. But that side of the family, it just kind of stopped. Now, my cousin was a twin, and his brother passed away about 2 years ago. The remaining cousin has some children, but in terms of first cousins, that's it on the Brooks side.
Wow.
And then my mother's family, some of them have migrated to this country from Jamaica. And they live in Florida, and 1 sister lives in New York, and that's it in this country. The rest of my direct bloodline family lives in Nigeria, England, Jamaica, and Canada.
Oh, wow.
So there are very few of us in this country.
That's fascinating.
So when I adopt people into my family, that has a lot to do with it.
Oh, interesting. That is so interesting. Wow. Can we know a little bit about Cheryl Brooks before Cheryl Brooks? So you finished, you went to school. What happened, after you graduated, what did you want to do? Was it, because I see that you did real estate and other things, and I saw that you went to the Army. Was that the next step, or how?
So all the way through high school, I was always in art classes.
Okay.
And the art classes allowed me an opportunity to go to Columbus College of Art and Design. Every Saturday they had a art program for middle school and high school students.
I see.
Because I went through that all the way through high school, I also had a complete 4-year scholarship to Columbus College of Art and Design.
Wow.
As it got closer and closer to graduation time, all of the mentors in my life started pouring in that an art degree, mind you, this was 1975.
Okay.
They said an art degree had no value. So all of a sudden I'm confused. I loved science. I loved the outdoors.
You love science.
I love science. My best friend in the 9th grade was my science teacher,
Really?
Cheryl Russell. Yes, that was my best friend. But then I was very confused. I didn't know what else I wanted to do if it wasn't something with art. People around me suggested I'd be a good attorney because I was very vocal, and so I went to OSU the summer after graduation, but before it would have been the freshman year. And I just signed myself up for a class. They had suggested law, so I took Poli Sci 101. And they were talking about a guy named John Locke. And I had no idea who they were talking about. Nobody was taking notes but me, and I was just trying to write everything they said down. And I got very discouraged very quickly because I started thinking I'm in the wrong place. I decided to walk home. My family lives in Southeast Ohio, Southeast Columbus. I'm on the Ohio State campus. I decided to walk home.
Wow.
I used walking a lot in those days. That was my thing. I like to walk. I'm walking down South High Street, and it was almost like a C-rate movie. A guy's leaning up against the door, stopping. Come here, let me talk to you. It was an Army recruiter, and we had a very extensive conversation, and he sold me on joining the Army.
Wow.
I took a couple of preliminary tests, and I scored really high. And he said, you can get into ASA, Army Security. He said, you can be in Central Intelligence. He made the job sound just so exciting, and all of my spidey senses were tingling. And I told my dad that I had signed up for the Army, and with Dad being Air Force, he wasn't real happy about it, but he was still glad that I decided to serve the country. I loved basic training.
You did?
I loved basic training. I didn't want it to end. I actually cried when it was over.
Really?
I went from squad leader to platoon leader. I was that into it. Now, what got me into it, though, you know how you see in movies they depict the drill sergeant as like yelling in your face and barking? Well, they really do that. So when they would do that, I would giggle. That was my response. I would giggle. So they'd make me get down and do push-ups. And I didn't know I could do as many push-ups as they would make me do. And what they saw in me was somebody that would just take every challenge. And the more they made me do, the more I could do. And I was learning things about myself I didn't know. I didn't know I could do that. And they used that energy, and they used my excitement, and they kept pushing me forward. And I don't know. So squad leader means there's a small group that I'm kind of like the group leader of. But by the time I was platoon leader, that meant everybody there. I was over all the squad leaders and the whole platoon, and they just kept pushing me forward. And no matter what they asked me to do, I loved it. I didn't know I was going to love it. That ended after basic training.
I see.
So my job title was Cryptographic Special Identification Technique Operator.
Okay, wait a minute. We're going to have her say that one more time.
Cryptographic Special Identification Technique Operator. The title impressed me.
Right, it impressed me too.
I was impressed. I said, I'm going to be that.
Right.
So the beginning of training was okay. It was interesting. We had to learn Morse code.
Wow. This onion keeps just unraveling and unraveling. My goodness.
So I found that part of it extremely interesting
Sure.
and challenging and satisfying. Well, when we actually got to the part where we knew the code, and it starts out very dot dash, slow, and very quickly. Don't laugh at me. It's like, and you can pick out everything that they're saying. Yeah, but the bad part was the job existed with headphones and a CRT, which is the precursor to the computer. It wasn't very intelligent. It was really just for data and regurgitating without any. And you sat there all day, stuck to this machine.
Oh.
And that's not my preferred work environment. So I was very miserable in that job. So I lasted in the military about 3 years.
Got it.
I came home. Mom was a full-time homemaker. She studied to be a nurse. But once she had me, she stayed home. And 12 years later, she had my sister. I have a sister. And once my sister was almost through with school, Mom decided she would work outside of the home.
Okay.
And she went and got a real estate license. Well, I was gone to the military when she did this. And I came home. Mom doesn't really care to drive. She learned to drive in England. So as far as she's concerned, we drive on the wrong side of the road.
Right.
And in Jamaica, they drive also like in England.
Wow.
So she never really liked driving. So as soon as I came home, she said, baby, drive me. So I would drive her around. There's these happy people. They're chatting. They're talking. We go look at these wonderful houses. Then there's a closing, and she goes to the bank. She was always going to the bank. Always getting a check and going to the bank.
Wow.
I had come out of the military thinking about doing Secret Service, or I was like, where can I use Morse code? Where can I use a top secret clearance? And FBI, CIA, those kinds of things were the things I was thinking about when I got out. But then I saw Mom and this wonderful thing she was doing. I was like, I think I want to do that.
Oh.
I want to do that. And that's how I ended up moving to real estate.
My goodness. That's interesting. How long did you do that? Or are you still doing it?
I've been licensed since 1979.
Wow.
I've been licensed in Ohio, Florida, California, and Maine because I moved a lot.
Sure.
So
Interesting.
now I'm licensed in Ohio.
Well, that's interesting. My goodness. So how did the treasurer come about? Like how did this?
So it was Providence. I had actually just I didn't do as well as my mother in sales. I'm not, and Mom wasn't really, my mom's very charming. The Jamaican accent, she's very gracious, very animated. She's just beautiful. As a child, before I had any other occupation in mind, I wanted to be my mother.
Oh, wow.
That's how impressive she is to me. So the traits that worked for her in selling real estate, I didn't inherit.
Okay, I got it.
I'm just not a natural salesperson.
Okay.
I'm more analytical, and I don't talk people out of choices, but I can't push them towards it. I will assist you in the process, but I won't sell you.
Interesting.
And some people literally need or want to be sold. They want you to make that decision for them.
Yeah.
That's not one of my strengths. I'm going to give you all of the information and then maybe show you how I would analyze it,
I see.
but I'm not going to close the sale.
Interesting.
So I ended up appraising more than selling.
Oh, okay.
So real estate appraising is really what I spent most of my energy and time in. So that with moving around the country, I have been relocated a few times to do appraisal for different government entities. I was back here in Columbus, Ohio. My father passed away.
When did he pass?
He passed in 2009. I was living in Maine at the time, and I was doing mass appraisal, and I had my license, and I was also selling. So I didn't want Mom to be, I tried to talk her into coming to Maine. She had visited, and she loved it. You can't help but love Maine.
I see.
But she didn't want to move there. She didn't want to give up the home her and Dad had, you know. So I decided I would come back, and I was in town about 48 hours, and I get a call from the auditor's office to come back to work for the same company I had relocated to Maine with. So after about 2 years in Maine, they wanted to transfer me to New Jersey. So I had left that company and was just working in the real estate industry in Maine because I didn't want to leave Maine. Somehow that didn't get all the way to Ohio, and they thought I was still with the company, and they said, we want to relocate you back. So we went through the conversation, hey, I'm back here, I don't work for you guys anymore. But they hired me, and I went back to work in the auditor's office doing mass appraisal. While I was there, the elected official who ran that office, they've had a recent administration change, but he and I became very close friends. And I told him that I wasn't leaving Ohio anymore, and I wanted to recapture some opportunities I'd had in the 80s. In 1980, myself and 3 other African Americans were the first minorities to be added to an appraisal list that had always been just white males.
Wow.
There were two females, 2 males, and we were the first African Americans.
Wow.
Because I was placed on that list in an what they call it, affirmative action process, I didn't know the normal route to go to get on that list. So he suggested that I get to know the elected official who pretty much administers that list.
Okay.
Shortly after we had that conversation, that elected official decided to run for another office. Because I've always volunteered on campaigns, I was like, oh, perfect opportunity. I'll volunteer on this campaign, and I'll get to know them. They'll get to know me, and then I'll make my bid for this position.
Wow. You said you always volunteered on campaigns?
Always.
Wow.
I've always volunteered on campaigns. I've actually been staffed twice. I started out as a volunteer, and they offered me a job.
Wow.
So I've worked on 2 different campaigns. When Ben Espy ran for mayor in 1991, I think it was, he would have been the first black mayor that we would have had. He ran against Greg Osheka.
Right.
I started out as a volunteer, and they hired me as full-time staff. So I worked on that campaign. I volunteered on every black candidate that ran for office. I volunteered on their campaigns.
Wow.
So I was kind of brought up to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what my parents said, that's part of your community engagement.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. So then fast forward to this opportunity, I volunteer on this campaign. They offered me a position. I took the position. The candidate didn't win, and then he had to run again for the office that he held while he was running for this other office. During the second bid, he wasn't endorsed by any party, so they put together their own ticket to encourage voters. And they put together a package of 3 other elected officials who were running. And then they added 2 new faces to the ticket, me being one of them. Wow. So when they called to ask if I would consider running for the office that I now hold, I wasn't sure they were serious at first.
Really?
They had me on speakerphone, they were in a meeting, and it was the 3 electeds who were running as incumbents. And they said, we think you do a really good job. And I thought about it for a second, and all the reasons why no were the first things, but there was this little voice that said, it's okay, do it. I even know, I knew at the moment they asked me, they weren't asking me for my benefit. I knew it was for the benefit of the ticket. I knew what they were looking for. They were looking for a woman and an African American.
Wow.
That completed the package on the visual, marketing material that they would put out.
Yes.
That would get them attention and votes and familiarity in neighborhoods that they otherwise may not have gotten.
Sure.
I didn't think it was a bad way to be used.
Right.
I just didn't. Interestingly enough, and I don't say this out of any ego, they all lost and I won.
Wow.
So I call it a run of providence. And I believe that the reason I said yes is because another voice spoke to me, not theirs, but another voice interjected a purpose in the run that had nothing to do with any of the earthly reasons I was asked to run. So I answered providence, and doors just started opening from there.
Wow.
That's how that.
Wow. And you've been in this position how long?
So I was elected in 2016, November of 2016.
Okay, got it.
But I didn't step into office till September 4th of 2017. And that's only because the Ohio Revised Code states that that's when treasurers start.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Do you, I think, I don't know too much, but I think you have a pretty strong faith base.
Very strong.
So my curiosity is being in this position that you have. Not everybody where you work at is. Do you feel any kind of struggles with your faith when it comes to like things that are going on around you, like decisions you have to make or anything that happens, because you never know. This is just being in the political realm. It's just there's so much that happens. You're not quite sure how to deal with that as your own personal convictions. Do you have ever had any type of issues in the past when it comes to like, I don't necessarily know that's the right thing to do, but I don't know if I should do this versus that. Do you ever like just say, you know what, this is not really meant for me to do, but I'm just going to have to just step aside and do it anyways?
So I'm going to separate the office from the political environment,
yes,
because they are very separate.
Okay.
The office, everything that we do is based on the Ohio Revised Code.
Okay.
So I have that framework and that safety net, that
Okay.
as long as I follow the code, I don't have to worry if what I'm doing is right or wrong, because the code specifies what we can do, should do, and what we're legally bound to do and what we can't do.
Got it.
So that's pretty simple.
Okay, very good.
In terms of the political environment, it's a lot harder to determine. The right or wrong is very simple. The right or wrong is to me, it's very, very simple. If it's not spiritual, if it's not practical, don't do it. If it's not the spiritual correct thing to do, you just don't do it. So it's not whether or not I know what to do or if it's the right thing to do, because I'll only do what I believe is right. I will only do what I believe is right. Sometimes that is not well received. In the political environment, that doesn't matter too much. As long as I respect my colleagues, I respect their expertise, I don't have to involve trust. A lot of people, their warning to me was, oh, don't trust anybody. And there's a lot of this paranoia surrounding being involved with politics. You're like, you don't know what their agenda is. And I don't pay attention to any of that.
That's good.
Even to this day, I had a text message, I think it was Friday, where somebody wants to pull me aside and give me this information, and you need to watch out for this, and you need to watch out for that. I don't concern myself with that at all.
Wow.
Not at all. What I offer people, the trust is in God. It doesn't have to be in the people. I respect them. I love them, regardless of what their agenda or motivation is. And I'm going to stay on my mark no matter who I run into or how they handle themselves. We just need to get a job done.
Right.
And if I'm looking for only people that I trust or only people that we won't get anything done.
Right. That's very good.
We won't get off the first base.
That's good.
And all I have to do is find what we have in common and work on that. Work towards a common goal.
That's good.
So all of the other things I don't worry too much about. I literally don't even put an antenna up for them. And I know there's targets and I know all that other stuff. But it's like, he got me this far.
Yes.
It's his battle, not mine.
Right.
So
that's good. That's good. I noticed a thing that you do as well is you support so many. You support people like the Restored Couple. And it's a lot of people that you do support and you cheerlead are people that normally other people would cast aside. Like society would call blemishes in their past. we're just, because we appreciate you, but we're just curious, you, for those, the ones that just don't, that don't have this, this plethora of all the accolades that we do, but we're working really hard to just, make a mark in the society and do well for other people. Why are you so supportive of us?
I thought you said you read my resume. So you're talking about my tribe. You're talking about my people.
Yes,
you're talking about me.
Yes. Yes.
So I believe part of the reason God put me where He put me is to make opportunity for other people, to change the dialogue, so that if I can open any doors for anybody, especially those who face the same challenges I faced, and that's what I'm supposed to do.
Oh, that's nice.
He didn't put me in this position for me. He put me in this position for everybody else. Not for me. So
that's big.
That's
big that you got that.
I got that
immediately.
Yes. From the first time I said yes, I already knew. So there's an elected official who I didn't expect to have this synergy with. And the first time her and I met, and she was one of the people everybody wanted to warn me about.
Oh, wow.
I'm not somebody who comes to tears often or almost ever. I mean, almost never, unless they're almost tears of joy. So the first time I sat down with this lady, we talked for maybe an hour and a half. I know it went over an hour because one of her staff members knocked at the door like, "Are you okay?" And she had other things she had to do.
Sure.
But one of her concerns, because we talked about something very similar to this, and I told her that I believe part of the purpose that I was where I was what I just explained to you. And I said, I'm going to have to be a role model. And she said she was concerned that I wouldn't be able to bear that weight. And she said, are you sure you want to put yourself out there like that? And as she asked me that, I just began weeping, just no sobs, just the tears came out. And I said, I don't have a choice.
Wow.
And every time her and I have a heart-to-heart, we're weeping. And it's Marilyn Brown, Commissioner Marilyn Brown.
Wow.
She is like a sister.
Really?
She is that energy that when I get around, something happens. Because any other time the Superwoman cape is on.
Right.
But when her and I talk, and we've had, you were with us once, where we wept together, and it was when we were at the Franklin County Correctional Facility.
Okay.
For one of the graduations.
Yes.
And her and I sit next to each other, and we're just so. I would not have. You just don't know what to expect. You can't figure these things out ahead of time. Yes. Yeah, but she was worried that it was too much weight. But the interesting thing is that all I have to do is live my life. It's not like I have to do anything outside of live my life. People are watching, they're listening, and they take from it whatever it is God has intended for them to get from it. And I just have to do the right thing for the right reason at the right time and just live my life.
Oh, Cheryl, that's wonderful. My goodness, you're just, I have no words to describe you. Goodness gracious. Well, I have a couple lighter questions for you.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Those are the harder ones.
Yes, was the hard. Okay, so you recently bought a home. And I'm not saying you're first, but you have a home. So there are a lot of people. You're six. My goodness.
I sold real estate.
That's right.
That's right. This is the sixth property I've bought. Yeah.
Now, this isn't a new home.
No.
So there are a lot of people that have conflicts between new home versus, a home that's been, it's been around for a while, seasoned. What do you recommend somebody to?
Oh, so it depends on their personality type. It depends on. So the utility is the same regardless of the age of the building.
Really?
A bedroom utility, and I don't mean utilities.
Okay.
They function.
I see.
If you need a bedroom, whether it was built in 1905 or 2019, a bedroom's a bedroom, a living room's a living room.
Got it.
I'm attracted to character in
So
structure.
you're an artist, really. So yes, that makes sense.
Yes. So the older lines, the amount of attention to detail, that's what attracts me. In terms of like the new open concept, the only time I was attracted to open concept is when when they first began turning warehouse space into living space.
Yes.
And it was just a huge space, and you would define the areas by what you put in that area.
Yes.
I thought open space was amazing, awesome, because we were still in these little rooms. So then it transitioned from that into structures that were pre-built and opening them. And then they started building them open intentionally in residential structures. I kind of get it, but I still prefer it when it was a more industrial environment and the original industrial like artifacts were still there.
Yes.
And it is that art, it is the just the whole creative reuse of space.
Yes.
I like that. But if you need, okay, like in a real estate pitch, somebody will tell you something like, I need 3 bedrooms, a dining room, a living room, and a great room. What my job is to ask them, what is it you want to do with these spaces? So that they're not limiting themselves to just these orthodox, I entertain a lot, therefore I need a family room.
I see.
You may not need a family room. You may just need a house with a large kitchen. So the utility of either function is going to be the same depending on what you want to do in it. Do you want just family? Do you want to entertain? If you aren't handy at all, you probably want a newer house because older houses always have some project that needs to be worked on.
Right.
Always, always, always.
Right.
So those are the kinds of things that you consider. It's not so much of a newer house is better than an older house.
Right, right.
Just what do you want from your home?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, I also heard that you kind of have a green thumb.
Yeah. I love growing things. I love growing things.
Interesting.
My mother, both my parents garden. My mother does flowers. My dad did vegetables. So I was always working with one of them in a garden. Plants come very easy to me.
Oh, wow. I'm a professional plant killer. So that's nice to know somebody.
Yeah, they just naturally, yeah.
Wow. I also heard you were a mean cook.
I can throw down. I can throw down.
I heard.
And I don't know how to cook in small quantities.
You don't.
We were always the Kool-Aid house. Have you ever heard that term?
No.
They don't say that anymore. Okay, so the Kool-Aid house meant where all the kids came.
Okay, yes. I think I do have it.
So we were always the Kool-Aid house.
So your mom was a cook like that as well?
So interestingly enough, a lot of the dishes I cook now, Mom didn't cook.
Oh.
For traditional American holidays, we didn't have traditional American cuisine.
Right.
We had Jamaican food.
Okay.
So I learned, the first time I went to a friend's house and they had meatloaf, I didn't know what it was.
I'm sure.
And they said meatloaf, and I still wasn't sure what that was.
Right.
I was not sure what a meat without a bone in it was.
Right.
Because almost everything we ate had a bone in it.
Yes.
So if it was meat, it had a bone in it.
Right.
And this, I didn't know what it was.
Right.
It tasted fine.
Okay.
So I was raised on jerk and curry and oxtails and rice and peas and just, even for Thanksgiving or Christmas, our meals were built around what my mom grew up cooking.
I see.
So I learned American cooking by taste.
Okay.
And then I'd go home and make it.
Wow.
And I would experiment.
Still the artist in you.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I guess so. I remember I started inviting friends over at the age of 14 for dinner parties. I would
Really?
cook and then make them eat
14?
it.
Oh my goodness. Interesting. Wow, that's fascinating. So you are also a motorcycle.
Yeah.
A motorcycle.
Where did you find that?
I mean, I try to do my homework on it.
Wow, yes, I have my motorcycle endorsement. I sure do.
Wow. When did you get first get on a motorcycle?
Get on one?
Yes.
The back of one. So when I left the military, I came from Air, Massachusetts to Columbus, Ohio on the back of a motorcycle.
Oh, okay.
We went cross country on the back of a motorcycle, and that's when I fell in love.
I see.
And that was 79, 78. I came home from New England to Ohio on the back of a motorcycle.
My goodness.
Including coming through inclement weather and having to pull over into an underpass and wait it out. I thought it was pretty amazing. But I didn't get my motorcycle license, my motorcycle endorsement until, how many years ago was it? Maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. I think it was 2010 when I got it. And I had a Yamaha V-Star 650.
So what do you have now?
I don't have a bike.
Whoa, okay.
No.
Okay.
That bike, so when you take the training class, when you take it, the easiest way to get your motorcycle license is to take the class that the VMV offers.
I see.
Because by the end of that class, you will be able to pass the maneuverability test. And I suggest anybody who's a new rider take that class. So in the class, you ride a 250. I thought it was Evel Knievel. Those 250s, man, they are easy to ride. You can do tricks. You can do all kinds of things. I got home and I got on my 650. Not so easy. And I got a little scared.
Really?
Yeah. Some of what I learned didn't translate well. And it was still a very light bike. A 650 is a fairly light bike. They say for my weight and size, I should probably be on at least an 850 and getting into the thousands. Most of the ladies I know that ride, they have 1200s. They're mean. They're mean.
It's so interesting. Wow.
They're mean.
My goodness.
So I scared myself. I immediately dropped my bike because I couldn't remember something about the weight of it. Anyway, I got some mental minutia going on, and instead of hitting the brake, I hit the accelerator.
Oh.
I was about to go into an intersection that I didn't want to be in, so I just dropped.
Wow.
I dropped the bike, so I got that out of the way. Because it's not if you'll drop your bike, it's when you drop it.
Really?
So statistics are in my favor that nothing bad will happen because I've already dropped immediately. But it made me a little apprehensive. And then somebody very close to me, right after that, got into a motorcycle accident. They had 20-something years experience.
Oh my goodness.
And there were no other vehicles. They didn't hit anything, just road conditions threw them off, and they lost a lot of skin.
They're still alive though.
Oh yeah, they lived through it.
My goodness.
The aftermath, and when I say they lost a lot of skin, I mean literally, just even with the protective gear on, they lost a lot of skin, lost half of this upper lip,
Wow.
got a lot of road burn, they call it, and watching them heal, it made me understand just how serious it was.
Yes.
And I lost a little of my courage, but I intend to get back out there as soon as I get another bike.
Absolutely. Wow.
There's nothing like it. It's a great experience.
Oh, I believe you. I have no fear of. My husband does not like motorcycles. Right. right.
We need to talk about
right. Well, I think you're amazing. I mean,
I think you're amazing.
This right here just lets everybody knows how interesting you are. You know, when you see Cheryl Brooks, I personally, I don't know if you have, but you need a book started somehow.
I have a very loose plan
Okay.
on writing a book.
Heard it on here. You heard it here.
I don't have a timetable yet,
Right.
but I have a very loose plan on writing a book.
Wow. I hope so. I hope so. So do you have any events coming up that you want to promote or anything like that?
I have a Women Supporting Women, and it's for my re-election. An event coming up. I don't remember. I think it's Monday, April 27th. Okay, it's Monday. It's not. It's the 29th.
29th.
It's Monday, April 29th, 5:30 at Rambling House.
Very good. Very good. Now, can people follow you on social media?
Yes.
Tell them how.
Cheryl Brooks Sullivan for Franklin County Treasurer is a Facebook page. I'm not doing the campaign on Twitter or Instagram yet, but you can find us on Facebook.
Thank you so much for joining me on the couch.
having me.
You are just wonderful. I can't give you enough adjectives to tell you how awesome you are.
So thank you much. But I appreciate. I'm honored that you wanted me to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cheryl Brooks. All right. You have a great, productive week and a happy Monday.